So we're going to learn about exponents today. We're going to talk about multiplying with exponents, and then we're going to eventually lead into dividing with exponents, okay? Let's just do a real quick review. If I have x times x times x, how can I write that? X to the third power. That's right, because when you have three x's being multiplied, it would be x to the third. All right? That's different from if you're adding x's. What happens here? What's x plus x plus x?
X times 3.
No. Well, yeah. Yes. Yes, you just said it different than I was expecting you to. Yes. 3 times x, or 3x, or x times 3, right? There's 3 x's being added together. When you're adding, it changes what's called the coefficient. Y'all heard that word before? The big number out front. Okay? Here, when you're multiplying, it changes the exponent, right? Okay, so when you're multiplying exponents, there's a rule here. So let's figure out what that rule is. What is x to the second times x to the third? Well, x to the second means x times x times, what does x to the third mean?
3.
That's right. So how many x's are actually being multiplied?
5.
5 of them. So what did I do? What can I do to 2 and 3 to get an answer of 5?
Add.
That's exactly right. You add. So the rule is that when you're multiplying with exponents, you add the exponents. But of course, there's always a catch, because it's math, right? It has to be the same variable, right? So let's look at that one. So if I have, so the same base, this is called the base. This is called the exponent. A lot of times we just call the whole thing a power, right? Or the whole thing an exponent. This part is the base. As long as the base is the same, you add your exponent. So let's do another problem. What if I have x to the fourth, y to the fifth, times x to the sixth, y? What is the answer here? Can I put my x's and y's together and just say, oh, it's xy to the whatever power?
No.
You gotta keep your x's together and your y's together, right? So if I have 4 x's that are being multiplied, and then 6 more x's that are being multiplied, how many x's altogether are gonna be multiplied? 10. 4 plus 6, right? So that would be x to the 10th. X to the 4th times x to the 6th is equal to x to the 10th. That's hard to say. Now let's do these. How many y's are here, first of all?
1.
1. Now remember, we could write a 1 up here, but they don't. Right? It would get too tedious to write a 1 every time there's a variable. But if I'm writing the variable, there's one of them. At least. If there's more than one, I'll have to tell you there has to be a number in there. Alright, so if I have y to the 5th times another y, then how many y's is that? If I've got 5 y's being multiplied and another one, then how many are being multiplied?
6.
6, that's right, y to the 6th. And then the way you write it up here is you just write it beside it. X to the 10th, y to the 6th. And you will be multiplying those two things together. Okay? So the rule looks like this. Here's the rule. Okay? When you multiply the same base, add exponents. So it looks like this. If I have x to the m times x to the n, the answer would be x to the m plus n. So that's what the rule looks like. If you open a math textbook, right, this is the rule that you're going to see, that you would add your exponents. All right? So let's look at another rule. This next one's called a power to a power. What happens if I write something to another exponent, an exponent to an exponent? So if I have x to the third to the second power. So you could write it out. this means whatever's in the parentheses, I write out times itself twice, right? Power of 2. So this means x to the third times x to the third. Well, if I've got 3 and 3, how many is that being multiplied?
6.
6 of them are being multiplied, so this would be x to the 6. Well, what can I do to 2 and 3 to get an answer of 6? Not add them,
Multiply.
multiply. So let's see if that holds true, okay? Let's try another one. What is y to the 7th to the 3rd? Well, anything to the 3rd time means write it 3 times. So y to the 7th, y to the 7th, y to the 7th. So what's 7 plus 7 plus 7?
21.
And what is 7 times 3?
21.
21, right? But, well, it'll be y to the 21, not 21, right? My bad. Okay. So you could just write it out every time, but it could get very tiresome, right? Because what if I gave you something like this? X to the 4th to the 10th power. You really want to write that out 10 times? No, I want to multiply. Power to a power, I multiply. So what is 4 times 10?
40.
40. So this is x to the 40th power, right? Okay, what happens if I do more than one thing in the parentheses? So what if I have x to the 3rd, y to the 4th, all to the 3rd? You do every exponent times that 3 that's on the outside, okay? It kind of looks like distributive property. That's really sort of what you're doing here. You're taking this number and you're multiplying it times all the exponents. So what is 3 times 3?
9.
And what is 4 times 3? And that's the answer there. All right, what is A, B to the 3rd, C to the 10th, D to the 4th, all to the 3rd? What exponent is here?
1.
Don't forget that, because a lot of times people will just write A. They'll forget that there's a 1 here, right? So what is 1 times 3? Power to a power, you multiply. 3. And what's 3 times 3? 9. And what's 3 times 10?
30.
So C to the 30th. D to the 4 times 3 is 12. Now that looks kind of like a ridiculous answer, doesn't it? But it is the correct answer for that, okay? All right. Let's see what else I need to tell you about this. I didn't write the rule. So the rule for this one is when you have a power to a power, you multiply exponents. So it looks like this. If I have x to the m to the nth power, then I would do x to the m times n. Okay? Now, part of this probably isn't new to you, but we are going in a direction that might be new to you, which is we're going to actually end up doing some division with exponents, and then we actually end up with some negative exponents. So what happens then, okay? So that's kind of where we're headed with this, but for today's lesson, this is all I want to get in today, okay? If you hadn't finished your test from yesterday, then you finished it now, hopefully. If you haven't, you need to go ahead and finish it today. And then this work right here, the notes, and then I'm going to probably wait and give you work on this tomorrow. We'll do dividing exponents tomorrow, and then we'll do some work on multiplying and on dividing, okay? And that'll all be tomorrow. Are there any questions about any of this? Okay, so let's be done for today then.